Most people are doing push ups incorrectly. And it's not just costing you results, it's also increasing stress on your shoulders, wrists, and spine, which leads to gradual wear and overuse injuries. The push up is well known as one of the most effective upper body movements, but more importantly, it serves as a diagnostic tool that helps identify muscle imbalances. It exposes force transfer inefficiencies, joint positioning errors, and inadequate joint range of motion. If your hips are dropping below your shoulders, you're losing core control and defaulting into spinal extension. That increases shear stress on the lumbar spine and disrupts force transfer from upper to lower body. So instead of pressing efficiently, you're leaking force through the trunk. Correct this by establishing a rigid torso. Keep your shoulders and hips aligned while contracting your glutes. If your hands are aligned with your neck or face and your hips are elevated, you've altered the pressing angle and shortened the lever arm. That reduces demand on the chest and shifts loading toward the shoulders in a less stable position. To correct this, simply align your hands with your shoulders throughout the duration of the set. If you quickly drop into the bottom position without maintaining tension, you've removed control from the eccentric phase. That shifts load onto passive structures, tendons, ligaments, and joint capsules, instead of distributing it through the active muscle. Additionally, you lose the largest driver of strength and hypertrophy. Don't neglect the eccentric phase. Maintain muscle tension and slow the descent to 2 to 4 seconds. If you're reducing depth, you're limiting shoulder horizontal adduction and stretch mediated tension. That means less mechanical work, less motor unit recruitment, and consequently, a weaker training stimulus. To fix this, achieve full depth without compromising spinal or scapular position. That means bringing your entire torso no more than an inch from the floor. If you're not completing the rep, you're avoiding terminal elbow extension. That reduces the load on the triceps and often leaves scapular mechanics incomplete. You end up reinforcing partial inefficient movement patterns. To correct this, make sure your elbows reach close to full extension during each rep. If your head shifts forward or you extend your neck, you've disrupted axial alignment. The spine functions as an integrated system. Once the cervical spine deviates, the lumbar spine compensates and the scapular stability is compromised. Forward head position promotes compensatory patterns through the torso. It also reduces the range of motion during the push up because the head reaches the floor before full depth is achieved. Looking up creates compression in the cervical spine and disrupts positional awareness. Consequently, you're no longer pressing from a stable platform. Force transmission becomes inefficient and shoulder mechanics degrade. To fix this, maintain a neutral head position, like when you're standing upright, make an eye contact with yourself in the mirror. If your elbows are flaring straight out, you're moving into a high abduction pressing position. That drives the humeral head forward in the socket and increases stress on the front of your shoulder. Over time, that can irritate structures like the labrum and the anterior capsule. To fix this, keep your elbows slightly tucked, about 30 to 45 degrees. If your hands are excessively turned out, that's usually a compensation, not a preference. It's often driven by limited wrist extension or restricted shoulder rotation. This changes how force is transmitted through the shoulder complex and can push the joint into a less stable, less controlled position. You also tend to shift stress onto the wrists and shoulders. If wrist extension is the limiting factor, using handles can reduce extension demand and allow you to maintain a more neutral wrist position. That often lets you improve alignment, reduce joint stress, and produce force more efficiently. Handles solve the constraint in the short term, but they don't fix it. If you rely on them without addressing mobility, the underlying limitation is still there, and that could have consequences for other movements. To fix this, use a hand position that allows stable wrist loading, proper joint alignment, and efficient force transfer, or address wrist and shoulder capacity directly. These issues are rarely random. They're typically driven by mobility limitations in the wrist and shoulder, thoracic spine strength and control deficits, core stability, scapular control, or a lack of technical understanding of the technique. When these faulty movement patterns are repeated over time, they can lead to anterior shoulder pain, shoulder impingement, labral irritation, wrist strain and overuse irritation, tendonitis in the elbow, neck strain from poor head positioning, and lower back pain from poor core control. The push up is not just a strength exercise, it's a systems check. It reveals how well you organize force, control joint position, and coordinate movement. If you refine the mechanics, you don't just improve performance, you improve how your body produces and controls force under load.